shot.
This weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. Hold.
That's a soul eater. If that kills us, that's it. No Valhalla, no hell, no afterlife, ever.
It does not attack.
Ah. Mom made them sound more dangerous than that.
Then do not drop your guard. Come.
Take that!
Get back!
Nice! See ya! Above us! Wow! Amazing!
Follow me.
Yes, sir! That doesn't sound like a soul eater. What do you think it is?
We shall see, boy.
And I'll say something, you know, this axe, this Leviathan axe.
There it is.
That's rad.
So cool.
Just throwing it back and forth.
And it just recalling it, you can look at that, tripping enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to PlayStation Underground. We got something real special lined up for you today. Myself, Sid Schumann, Justin Massengill, and Kristen Titus are going to walk you through some new footage from God of War, launching on PS4 April 20th.
Boy.
And my goodness gracious, does this game look sensational. What do you guys think?
Wow, that looks very good.
Now, Justin, you have not played it. Kristen,
I'm coming totally fresh here.
That's right. Kristen, you and I got a chance to play this.
Yes, we did.
And I think it's safe to say that we liked what we played.
So first things first, I'm noticing R1, R2 for your attacks.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a big change.
Yes, indeed. No more face buttons. I believe that is still an option that you can select as an optional thing, but you're going to see why when you start playing the game. It's a lot more tactile. It's a lot more immersive. And here we have a parry. You still got that classic action from God of War. And I'll say something, you know, this axe, this Leviathan axe.
There it is.
That's rad.
So cool.
Just throwing it back and forth.
And it just recalling it, you can look at that, tripping enemies.
Oh, yeah. So tell me how
Bam.
the actual mechanics of using that axe works. You throw it like a boomerang?
You throw it and you sort of aim at something, you toss it, and if it hits an enemy, it'll freeze them in place.
Okay.
You can use it in puzzles. You can then hit a button. I think it's square. You recall it back in your hand. So right there, you can see he's frozen.
Stuck in that guy's face. Okay.
Now, right now, Kratos, the fisticuffs is very, very fun in this game. It's as much fun, I think, as the axe. What do you think, Kristen?
I loved whenever I would throw the axe and then just start beating up on somebody else. Occasionally, you'll have an enemy where you actually have to use that tactic. It definitely wants you to use everything in your arsenal.
And so you have like completely different movesets depending on whether the axe is in his hands or stuck in an enemy's chest.
Right, you got a shield, like a full-blown shield, a little dab of Dark Souls there. You kind of walk around. Shield comes in handy for this hand-to-hand combat too.
The best defense is good offense, right?
So these are the lighter slashes with the axe. I think it's R1.
Okay.
And it's a little bit reminiscent of the classic games, just with more impact. You can see juggling the enemy, hammering him into the ground.
The head looks really chunky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very beefy. That was I was talking to Corey Barlog. He's the creative director at Santa Monica. And they wanted this weapon, this Leviathan axe, to have a weight to it. And I say mission accomplished.
Absolutely.
I see like a chain over there to the left that you were walking.
That's cool. Still got those brutal.
They are not toning down the brutality of this game.
That's right. Yeah. So here's that chain. Your eagle eye caught there. Now here's a cool example of a puzzle. I remember this one instantly. This axe.
You froze it in place.
Oh, cool.
Clever.
Yeah. It's little things like that. I really like how they come at the puzzle solving in this. I always liked the puzzles in the last games, but it got to be a little bit of much with the block pushing and everything. They really opened that up in this game.
Big change. You didn't have to mash that button to open the chest.
That's correct. Hack silver is one of the sort of resources you'll collect.
Is that like a currency, a crafting material? What's that all
A little bit of all the
A
above.
little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah. Just recall that back.
Yeah.
So cool.
Nothing is more satisfying though when you do it.
You got the big guy here.
Big boy.
Yeah. So, interesting detail here. You can either sort of let Atreus kind of just circle the perimeter, and he'll kind of do his own thing.
Yeah.
Call out enemy positions, things like that. Or you can actually manually direct him with the sun button, which I think is square. You can aim and have him fire directly at whatever you want.
I like how the axe just kind of bounced off of him there.
Yeah.
That was fun.
These trolls are not easy, I can tell you that right now.
But Atreus definitely becomes very helpful. He can distract your enemy for you. He can sort of draw attention so you can just dive right in there.
Yeah.
You have to give them some time to build back those arrows, so they won't always be there. You got to use them.
You can't just say fire, fire, fire.
Exactly.
Oh, and I see in the bottom right, is that an indication of how many arrows he has available?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
This guy takes some punishment.
Yeah.
The detail on these characters is staggering. Oh, and real quick, if you look at Kratos here, look at his kind of his butt, his thighs. You can see his remnants of his old armor poking out. You see those red straps?
Oh.
See what I mean? Like, there's a ton of details. Look at the wrappings on his arms.
Yeah.
From the chains.
Where the chains were, yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool character design in this. Obviously, he's got the classic red war paint or scar or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Different kinds of chests of different animations.
That's one way to open a chest.
Classic Kratos.
He doesn't have time to open chests.
There's a lot of looting in this game. There's a lot of just kind of items and things, like reasons to explore sort of the world around you. I was digging in every nook and cranny.
Do we know any more about how that all works, like the progression in terms of the currency systems and the economy?
Yeah, we're going to see a little bit more of that later on, but yeah, that is deeper, I think, than you may be anticipating. So stay tuned.
Oh, I got the old instruction manual here.
That's very funny.
Reversible box art.
A little bit of Norse mythology.
How did they get up there? What's happening there at the end? They eat the sun and moon, and then everybody fights?
Atreus the Scholar.
That's right. Yeah, he can read all the sort of runic messages that are scattered around. So
is Kratos able to read that stuff?
He is not.
Oh, I see.
So that's one of the things that's interesting about this game. That's super cool right there. I love that.
Yeah.
Atreus really is, as you can see, he's not, there's like zero maintenance involved. Oh, here's one of these kills. Bam!
Wow.
Satisfying. Yeah, you can, there's actually a stun quality that you can apply to enemies using your fists.
Oh, nice.
So it kind of adds stun damage, and then you can click R3 and do the sort of one-hit takedown, which is really satisfying.
Man, the way that enemies react to hits is so just like
juicy,
so organic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks awesome. I saw something on the side of the screen a moment ago that said new labor. It looked like those are like challenges, because I saw that when he shattered that enemy, it said new labor, shatterer. So I assume that then if you go shatter a bunch of enemies.
Exactly. The more enemies that you come into contact with, the more you fill out your bestiary. You'll get labors that are, kill this amount of enemies and you can receive X, Y, and Z, but some of them will do a specific move to take them down. Just giving you a little bit more challenge beyond just the hack and slash.
Look at Atreus there holding that guy down.
Yeah.
And then you can look at that, kicking people into each other.
Yeah.
It's just
super
seamless.
cool. Yeah.
A tooltip a moment ago, press down on the D-pad to do a quick turn. So that sounds like really like a streamless things of it there.
Absolutely. You'll also see in the bottom left, there's a meter towards the bottom that is filling up as Kratos keeps beating people down. That's his, I think, the rage meter?
Spartan Rage,
so
yeah.
that fills up.
Triumphant return.
Some things just don't change, Justin. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, bam! I mean, it's just really crunchy combat. It was the thing that I immediately noticed as soon as I started playing. It was just like, man, that axe feels good.
If you pay attention, the camera actually lends to the way that combat feels too. It shakes a little bit when there's an impact.
You get a sense of that impact,
Yeah.
I mean, the Blades of Exile, Blades of Chaos from the last games, I mean, they were really cool weapons, but this one just has this sort of nastiness to it that I really appreciate.
Brutal.
But it'll feel familiar, though, when you're using it. I mean, there's some of the strategies are still kind of, evoked there.
Another new thing, XP, well, I guess you sort of had, like, there was the progression in the old games, but now we have, like, the standard XP
stats
increasing there, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get a closer look a little later, but, yeah.
These aren't moving. Are they dead?
What's
more dead?
Graphics here are just insane.
I like how they actually even went to the trouble of building in the little hook on the back of his armor for the axe, rather than having it just kind of float in place there.
Yeah, so as the game just helpfully reminded us, there are actually different levels of enemies at your fight. So that was actually a super smart move there, driving that guy off that cliff.
Oh, yeah.
But some of these Draugrs you're fighting here, that's sort of the foot soldiers, the undead foot soldiers, some of them are much tougher than others.
Hold L1, then press R1 to perform a light runic attack. What does that mean?
That is a type of magic. It's something that you can get. You can imbue your attacks with it.
Oh. Was that R3? You click R3 to do that? Nice.
Yeah, and that was my move. I would run in there bare knuckle brawling. I loved it. So
I love how the axe can even hit guys on the way. So it's smart to throw the axe at somebody, then kind of line of sight yourself with another and call it back.
It is much more strategic, the combat in this game. There are going to be, look at that. That was a perfect example of recalling the axe, hitting two guys in one go. But look at this. I mean, this is not a kinder, gentler Kratos, but it is a little bit of a more strategic Kratos, and that's something I really appreciated as I played this. Oh, yeah.
Man, this looks so good.
Yeah.
Did he just like charge up throwing that axe?
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't even know he could do that, but yeah, this is a really good looking game.
Oh, there's some loot on the ground. You missed it. Pick it up. Pick up the shiny stuff.
Only once. Show me control.
So this relationship between Kratos and Atreus is like a foundation of this game.
Yeah.
And you really pick up on it within minutes of playing it. You immediately are captivated by the relationship they've got.
Wow.
Slowing things down a little bit here. There's your loot. Those green items are health.
Okay.
So that's treated a little bit differently. You don't have to open chests every time now to get more.
This used to be a marketplace. The giants used to gather here to trade with the gods a long time ago. I wonder if Odin was ever here.
I love the Norse mythology just kind of winds its way around everything. It's
Exactly. It feels natural.
Yeah. You're kind of unraveling it, and it's obviously a unique sort of interpretation.
Do you know anything about how closely they kind of stuck to the original mythology, or how many liberties they took?
I think so that's the thing about Norse mythology is it's super open to interpretation. There's different names, different characters. There's a lot of different interpretations of it. So, you know, when I talked to Corey about that, he explained that they really wanted to kind of make their own mark on it and kind of do their own version of it. So we don't know how far it goes just yet because we're just getting an early look at the game.
Wow.
But I guess you're just gonna have to play it when it comes out, Justin.
April 20th. Only on PlayStation 4.
These are heavy joggers.
Yeah.
These guys are serious business. I was really struggling with them. Look, there's a great parry. Look at that.
Oh yeah, that was
awesome.
great. Oh, shatter that guy. Okay, yeah.
So good. I was really excited for this game, but when I played it, I was like, get out of the way.
Oh, what's happening here? What is that? Is that like a perfect parry kind of thing?
A little bit of runic magic, I believe.
Oh, cool. I see you can press L3 and R3 together to do something.
That's Spartan Rage. Yeah, that's a real interesting take on that one too. Boom.
Oh, I see they have like a little snowflake meter above their health bar as you're hitting them with that axe. I assume that when that fills up, that's when they freeze.
Mm-hmm. Nothing like stepping on a little health crystal.
It's so cool to finally see this game in action. We've seen so many awesome-looking trailers. The game has looked so impressive ever since we revealed it a couple years ago. Just seeing it being played now just is so encouraging. And man, it looks like they just nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, that was my take on it. Like, I just sort of fell in love instantly.
What's happening?
This is an interesting part.
Yeah.
Sid, be quiet.
It's the Revenant.
That's the Revenant. So
Whoa.
she's a little too quick for Kratos. Like, that's the thing.
Oh.
See?
But maybe Atreus can stun her with a strategic arrow.
Boom, right there.
Nice.
So it's battles like this that really show you how integral Atreus is. He's not just a companion. He is absolutely a part of the fight.
That's awesome.
So he's going for the stun damage right there. He got it.
R3, do it. Ooh. Oh. Oh.
There's the brutal Kratos we all know.
Yeah, if anybody was worried that Kratos was going to be getting a little kinder in his old age.
I expect an improvement.
This fun little character. What's this guy's name?
Brock.
Brock.
B-R-O-K, Brock.
Little blue guy.
So, where's the other half of the brand?
All my dumb brothers got it. But I got all the talent.
This guy cracked me up.
Yeah, this I didn't know what to make of this character, but
Is he like a blacksmith?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here you go. Let's get into the deep dive stuff here.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's juicy.
Here's the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything else looks fun. I'm a nerd for like upgrade trees and progression stuff and all that.
This game is going to speak to you, my friend.
Yeah, there was a lot more going on here than I was expecting, to be totally honest.
See, this is what I was interested in.
Yeah.
God of fashion.
Be too careful now.
God of fashion. Another quick look. If you look down his lower torso, you see that classic armor poking out from beneath.
Now that our friends
sneaky.
who were hiding in the trees are back for more. Go on, give that axe a twirl.
Got that upgraded Leviathan Axe here, and you're going to see this thing is way more potent now.
Wait, are you just fighting this thing right in front of Brock?
Yeah.
As you do. So satisfying.
That parry is so nice.
satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, got the air juggles going.
Oh, yeah.
Look
Big
at that.
time. Big
Nice.
time. So again, there's going to be some things veterans are going to recognize, and that's one of them. Oh, I love this.
yeah.
I love this little move.
Oh, I
there.
was just going to ask what was going on with that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of environment interaction, kicking guys on the walls. You know, you can If you're clever, you can kind of, you know, drop pots on their head, things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And a lush natural environment for you.
The environment work here is just
Yeah.
stunning.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Really, really pretty game.
Even just from it going between cutscenes back into combat, back into gameplay, it's seamless, honestly.
Are the cutscenes all like rendered like with the kind of in-engine, or do they do the cut like the pre-rendered stuff like in previous games?
Well, no, it's this game has that whole philosophy around like no camera cuts. It's like one,
Okay.
it's just one cut from beginning to end. So
Nice.
you just go right through the entire game. It doesn't break away to say like, oh, check out what's going on over here. You're just with Kratos and Atreus for the entire experience. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
cool.
It's very intimate. It was something that actually they settled on really early in development. So.
Boy, over here.
Boy.
Interesting. I may want to write that down.
Tell us more.
So that's a fresh new look at God of War. It's coming out April 20th on PS4. What'd you guys think? Real quick.
Oh man, it looks incredible. I can't wait.
I'm just constantly blown away by it.
Here.
So we
does
do
it say?
have actually a lot more coming, so stay with us. But we've got a lot. The team at Santa Monica Studio put a lot of work into just like creating this sort of Norse world of God of War. And, you know, that extends to the trolls themselves. They have a unique language that they speak amongst each other. So there's actually, this big fella's actually saying something, I don't know what, but I'm assuming it's like, get out of my way, pesky insect. Sid here, as well as Justin and Kristen, we're taking an exclusive look at God of War. This is footage you will not see anywhere else.
Oof.
And this is a troll you won't see in any of the other footage out there either. That is a nasty-looking fellow. These trolls...
Goodness.
Yeah, look at this thing. These trolls are actually unique. They're named characters in the game's lore. Tell us a little bit.
Each one is different. Each one has a completely different backstory. You know, as with Norse mythology, everything here sort of has a little bit of a story, a little bit of a narrative to it. So each of these guys, they're going to look a little different. They're going to fight a little different. The way you want to go up against them, you might want to think about it differently.
Yeah, this guy looks a
Just
lot
watching him
meaner.
too.
He's a lot more aggressive than the other enemies that we've seen.
No, an interesting fact too. I mean, the team at Santa Monica Studio put a lot of work into just like creating this sort of Norse world of God of War. And, you know, that extends to the trolls themselves. They have a unique language that they speak amongst each other. So there's actually, this big fella's actually saying something, I don't know what, but I'm assuming it's like, get out of my way, pesky insect. But
They got a bit of a chip on their shoulder because I think part of the backstory is that they've been betrayed by the gods. You know, and they have all these different cities and villages. And
I'd be mad too.
they, you know, they're down to fight.
Boy, this game just looks so good.
Oh, some friendly putt. Oh, no. Never mind.
You know, you're seeing just a different side of God of War with this game. That camera.
The glowing eyes are an interesting touch there.
Yeah. This camera, I think, is worthy of discussion because, I mean, this is
It's seamless.
it's like a one-cut game. They don't, like, cut to cinematics or cut to another character.
Exactly.
Yeah, and even the camera angle, it's a lot closer to Kratos, a more intimate camera there.
Yeah, a lot more intimate and really makes you feel like you're there, you know?
Yeah, especially during combat, you sort of feel the impact of every hit. It sort of shakes just a little bit, makes it feel like you really are Kratos.
We can.
And sort of a robust loot system here, too, something we really haven't seen necessarily in God of War to date. So
Should we be in here?
it's just a different take and a really fresh and exciting take on a classic PlayStation IP.
We're seeing some light puzzle elements, it looks like here. Nice. Notably, you don't have to mash the button to open chests anymore.
And there's a lot of different kinds of chests. The animations are always different.
Ooh, a purple thing.
That's a way to enhance your health.
Nice.
So
Oh, cool.
I think
So
this
the more
is-
of those puzzles that you find, they're sort of higher level loot that you're going to find in those,
Gotcha,
those room
gotcha.
chests.
Never leave me alone again.
Yeah, these environments. Look at this environment. I mean, just so detailed. So this tickled me too. You know, this is
Back to kill
a
people
new look
before,
at God of
haven't you?
War, and
Huh.
the climbing
used to it.
is something that I always associated with God of War. You remember those epic
Oh,
climbing
yeah,
sequences?
yeah.
So
Their food.
Corey Barlog's sort of a veteran
They're
on the
hungry?
series. He worked on the original. He was
supposed to be
creative
dead.
director on the second game, and he's
people.
creative director on this title as well. And he's
trying to survive,
riddled
too.
this game with just
frogs
references,
in here, too.
homages, clues
must
for
have been fighting.
fans.
I also just love these quiet moments though with Atreus that as you're moving through the world, he's constantly, you know, commenting it with fresh eyes. I I just love the relationship between Atreus and Kratos. You really see it develop just right away from the beginning. It just dives right in.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be, I think, the centerpiece of the game. It's pretty clear. It's got a lot of power to it emotionally. Like Kratos is this sort of troubled character. You know, if you've played these other games, he's in a different place in his life. He's got a lot of responsibility in a way that he maybe hasn't had in the past. And you know, he has to struggle to like keep his temper, something he's not maybe known for exactly. So, really, really interested to see where they go with that in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels a lot more open, a lot more kind of catered to taking your time and exploring.
Absolutely.
Kind of punctuated by the fast action sequences.
Has this been here all this time?
Just beautiful.
Why don't you help me up there?
Oh, here we have you know, this Leviathan Axe. This is the Kratos' new weapon of choice. It has a lot of impact in combat, but it also has some properties that sort of lend themselves to puzzle solving as well.
Wait for me, boy.
This fog is gorgeous.
Yeah, that is some crazy looking fog there.
Atreus!
Well, hope you liked exclusive sneak peek here at God of War. This is footage you won't see anywhere else, and we are all dying to play it when it launches on PS4, April 20th. See you next time.
Oh, there do I see my mother. Oh, there do I see my father. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me.
There's only one person who can get you where you need to go. They call me Mimir, smartest man alive. First, you need to cut off my head.
Wait, what?
That axe you got. You gotta handle her special.
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it. He doesn't know, does he? About your true nature? Or his own?
The longer you wait, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever.
You're next! I'll rip your head off!
There are consequences to killing a god.
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
Power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. Open the door! We need your help!
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater.
Can you kill something that big? Are you gonna do it? You said I was cursed. You think I'm weak because I'm not like you.
You do not know everything, boy.
No. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth.
Hang on, boy! Okay!
The truth.
Long way from home, aren't you?
here I thought your kind was supposed to be so enlightened, so much better than us.
The gods of these realms don't take kindly to outsiders, trust me. When they find you, and they will, they'll make things difficult.
Wait here. I will handle this.
Wow, that was something, that fight.
On our journey, we will be attacked by all manner of creature. To be effective in combat, a warrior must not feel for his enemy. Close your heart to their desperation. Close your heart to their suffering. The road ahead is long and unforgiving. No place for a boy. You must be a warrior.
But not everyone is bad. Mother always said to be open to those who can help.
Who you were before doesn't matter. This boy is not your past, he is your son. And he needs his father.
What is this?
It's the world serpent.
Stay calm, boy!
I am!
What is it saying?
He wants to help us!
This God of War game is definitely the biggest one we've ever made. There's a lot of content, and we wanted to make sure that out of all the players playing it, everybody plays it a different way. We just want players to have choice. We want players in the game with a different Kratos as somebody else's Kratos, even though they're still Kratos at the end of the day.
What we wanted to do is make sure that all the customization that we offered to the player fed directly into the core loop of the game. All of Atreus' sort of core abilities, all of Kratos' core abilities, as well as kind of his reactions, the cooldowns and how fast those go, all of your sort of damage, as well as ability to take damage, all of those things are factors that you can have control over.
The core of him will be always in the game in terms of what he feels like, what he can do, how strong he is. We wanted to make sure that there was enough options there that the players could customize them to whatever they like doing. As the game continues, you'll gain new abilities for your axe. There's a skill tree that you'll be able to use to give yourself more axe abilities or more bare hand abilities. Or maybe you want to improve your defensive capabilities and block and parry and slam guys around, and then you want to go into the shield skill tree and kind of add those abilities to the shield.
Everything is kind of, at its core, a little bit of risk-reward, but it really is that kind of like balancing act that says, I prefer this, right? And sometimes the situation will also dictate it, so that while you're in a combat experience, you may realize that, oh, I've chosen a strength build, and I'm getting hit by a character who essentially is knocking out all of my health in one hit. right? Okay, I have to rethink this and kind of, hey, I have this other piece of armor, I'm going to swap that out. Or I rethink my strategy, like, oh, I can probably do this, but I have to stay agile, stay farther away. I have to go in quick and then get out as fast as possible and really perfect how I use evades and parries and blocks.
Basically, like, whatever you want to do, it's probably somewhere in the game. This God of War game is definitely a fresh start for the team. Everything about this game has been new from the get-go. So we got, a new camera perspective, we got a new narrative, we got Atreus, a new mythology, and we knew we had to change the weapon as well. We had to bring something new to the table.
The blades are extremely iconic. Everybody expects this. Everybody knows this. There's not a lot you can do new with it without going super extreme, right? So to make a nice big change, I think will have a greater weight, a greater impact.
Corey, with his original pitch for the new God of War game, he always pictured him with this axe. That's really the only note we had is, okay, he's gonna have an axe. And basically with that, we had to decide, well, what can be special about this axe? And as we previewed animations and did a lot of tests, like there was always this animation of Kratos throwing the axe that seemed like it would be cool, but it'd be like, well, he's gonna throw his weapon away. Like, what use is that gonna be? It's just gonna be gone. You're gonna have to go pick it up. Until, one of our designers, Vincent Napoli, came up with the idea, well, what if he called it back? So we prototyped that, we had him throw the axe out, call it back, and immediately kind of worked very well with the camera perspective, how to deal with enemies, pinpointing targets on them, tripping them again, aiming for the leg. So all the ideas kind of started to spearhead themselves right after that decision was made.
That axe you got a handler special.
Brock and Sindri, the two dwarven blacksmiths that you meet throughout the game, are able to modify the axe, sort of size of the axe head as well as the handles. Each of these sort of additions adds access to different skills, different moves.
Early on when we first started designing, we almost look at it as a car that you're upgrading it. So all the parts come out and you can swap and add on different things, the specials.
Traditionally in the previous games, these would be like your L1 specials, right? Like the special moves that you're able to do, you're able to actually mix and match. So you can say, I really like this move, I want to put that move in. As you collect different ones, you can say, I really like this one, this is the only one I want to use. Or, ooh, no, now I'm going to swap this out.
So one attack might just be a giant frost wave that doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does slow them down and make them easier to fight. Another one might have Kratos just spinning rapidly with his axe, very close range, multi-hit, high damage. Depending on if you like being up close to enemies or far range, basically there's a runic attack for you. Every God of War had power fantasy when it comes to Kratos, meaning that you go into fights and you feel really strong. You feel powerful, you feel like you can take them on, you feel like you can take anything on. No matter how small, no matter how big, it's like Kratos can handle it. So for this game, even though we were changing pretty much everything about the combat, we wanted to make sure that Kratos still felt like he was a powerhouse.
The two things that we had talked about early on were like, one, we don't want to make an open world game. Two, we don't want to just mimic Dark Souls. As much as we like that game, there is kind of this interesting loop inside of it that we wanted to capture. That's when we really, I think, started embracing the fact that not all of God of War just has to be charge in, hit, and then sort of wake up after everything's over, right? We just didn't have that strategic element, that cerebral engagement. And all of the pieces that we put together throughout development put the player in a position that they have to think as they're fighting.
For this game, he's got a new weapon, his Leviathan Axe, and with this weapon we wanted to be a little bit more tactical, still feel powerful at the end of the day, but have a little bit more decision-making and a little bit more deliberate actions on the player.
We've created scenarios in which, hey, it's advantageous to really experiment with this. And we've noticed that once people start seeing that, oh, I'm gonna try that one now, right? Because we give you a lot.
We want to make sure that, hey, when you win this fight, did you win it slightly different than this other player won the fight? Maybe you kicked them into a wall, stunned them, and grabbed them. Maybe you tripped them and then slammed your axe on top of them to split them in half. There's multiple ways to handle enemies this game.
But I love the kind of trick shot stuff with the axe. So like throwing and tripping the character and then repositioning myself to put another character between me and the axe, recalling the axe and taking the character from the ground, popping him up, hitting another character in that line from behind, grabbing and then comboing that, launching him up, and then throwing a runic attack on him.
Once you throw your axe, we didn't want Kratos to be useless. We wanted to make sure that he still had a moveset. So he's got a shield that can expand on command now. A lot of his bare hand attacks uses that to get more damage. With this thing, he can stun much easier, much faster than the axe itself.
Well, Kratos can throw the axe. He has ranged abilities, right? If you're blocking, you have to block. But the addition of Atreus means I can block and actually fire arrows. So I can strategize that I can open somebody up while maintaining some safety and then quickly get in while they're opened up and then follow that up with something. So it gives you a really interesting sense that I can both have an aggressive stance and a defensive stance at the same time. God of War was, the boat deck, right? On the Hydra ship, one section, bam, you already understand kind of all of the base combat stuff, and then we incorporate a little bit of magic later. So this was far more ambitious, and I think honestly, the audiences are more adept at games. They've played a lot more games. The game industry has progressed and matured, so people are looking for an inherently a greater depth to the games that they're playing.
Just tell me when to shoot.
Making sure that Atreus wasn't a pain in your ass was a big part of this game.
Atreus needed to have some sort of ability or something he brought to the table that was different from Kratos. His ability to understand the language, right? In our world, the writing of the runes and the speaking of the runes are like the ignition for magic. Atreus' ability to understand this stuff allows him to have magical abilities that Kratos can't have.
The giants used to gather here to trade with the gods a long time ago.
The simplicity of the controls was imperative.
Should I fire?
Wait for my mark.
We did not want to be giving commands or have complex orders or anything like that. He is able to autonomously divide the battlefield just a little bit, so he's able to take attention, if you will, aggro in some games it's called, away from enemies. So if you have a large pack of enemies, firing the arrows will get their attention.
We had him design like a suite of moves for him that he could do that could help melee with the bow and trip enemies and keep them at bay. He's a little guy, so he can jump on an enemy and grab them from time to time. We didn't want people micromanaging the sun. Again, we didn't want people to think of him as any kind of hindrance, anything that they really had to worry about. You can use him to your heart's content, whatever you would like to do, but if you don't do anything, he'll still do a lot of things.
There are certain circumstances that there are enemies that say, I'm going to target him. But if he gets into trouble, he's able to get himself out of trouble most of the time.
When you're in a fight with Atreus, it's like you definitely feel his presence. He feels like he's there with you every step of the way. You wanted to make sure that he always felt like somebody that was helping Kratos and benefiting you, and you never want to be without him.
That dumb hammer doesn't scare me. Boom! Oh no!
Boy!
Stop!
Boy! Your mother's knife. It belongs to you now.
What for?
A test. She taught you to hunt, yes?
Yes, sir.
Then show me what you know. I am hungry. Feed us.
What are we hunting?
You are hunting deer.
Which way?
Your hunt. You tell me.
South?
Is that a question?
South. Look! Tracks! They're fresh! This way! Found it!
Slow down, boy.
Sorry.
You must think. Do not simply react. Be calm and plan.
It's just, I'm not used to hunting. Oh, what happened here?
Hold. What are you doing? Now its guard is up. Only fire. Only fire when I tell you to fire.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. Be better. Find it. Find it. No! You are not ready! Stay back!
I knew something fell off about the forest.
Keep moving.
You know, if you give me my bow back, I can help you fight. I'm ready.
You have yet to prove that.
I need a chance.
You had a chance.
I need another.
Then find that deer. Back away, boy! Here's your chance. Show me already.
Yes, sir!
Back off, get a clean angle. And space your shots. I will draw it to me. Shoot it!
On it!
It is time! I will bring it down! You will kill it! Now, boy!
What?
Do it! Off the ice! No!
I am so sorry.
Your deer is getting away.
Yes, sir. I can't believe we fought a real troll.
And you froze when I told you to kill it.
I know, but he was staring right at me. How could I look him in the eyes and
Him?
kill?
I thought your mother taught you to hunt.
She did, but I never had to kill anything. She always did that part.
Then it is time for you to learn.
Father, look!
Wait for my mark. Relax. Do not think of it as an animal. It is simply a target. Clear your mind. Exhale and release.
I got it.
Good.
So what?
Your knife. No. Finish what you started.
I can't.
Now, you are ready.
For what?
A new beginning.
While now you're back, and this is a bold new vision. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Tell me a little bit. Let's get inside your head a little bit about this new approach. I mean, you can even just see here, gorgeous looking game, but very, very distinct visually from what we know of as God of War.
Yeah, I think right from the beginning, we wanted to rip this whole thing up and rebuild it from scratch. Find all the things that worked. Really the things that were like, this is great, we love this, this must stay. But all the things that felt like they were not steering towards this core vision of a closer, more intimate look at Kratos' life. Like this character, the first chapter of his life really is this kind of birth of the anti-hero inside the era of Greek games. Like 7 games, this amazing sort of introduction to this character. And just like long format television, where a character can go from one side to the polar opposite, they can be hated and loathed and then sympathized with throughout this entire sort of arc, we're doing something similar. I love the challenge of taking something like that on and making people think.
So tell me a little bit about the universe we're seeing here. I mean, can you get in?
We're on a bunch of mythologies for quite a while. We ended up in a period that is not the Viking era. It's sort of before the Viking era is the migration, and then before the migration, this sort of pre-migration era is the era we're sort of positing that the Vikings always talk about when they say the gods have abandoned us. They used to walk the earth. Odin and Loki and Thor all walked amongst with beasts and monsters. So this period of time in Scandinavia that we're at is actually this time when the gods walk the earth. And kind of the visual direction, like we've worked a long time kind of finding this idea of isolating Kratos and his son so that they're in a world where nobody is friendly. They are not going to be high-fiving a bunch of people throughout this world. This is a world where everything is hostile, where the son is actually the only one who understands the language. So the player, playing as Kratos, experiences that kind of stranger in a strange land where their kid actually has a lot of the power. They don't understand the language. The troll is speaking in ancient Norse. So the kid would actually understand what he's saying. Kratos and the player, we don't understand. So we kind of have this interesting sort of inroad to that, which I think allows us to really focus on a new dynamic.
I hate to use the term one-dimensional, but from an emotional standpoint, it was. So when I looked at this script, And I think one of the first days that we met, one of the first things I said was, like, this is like a script. It's not a game script.
Right.
It's a script. It's a fleshed out story with fleshed out characters that run the gamut of full emotional ranges. And what really touched me was Kratos and his struggle to accept a new role, to not be the same old Kratos. And so just from that aspect, there's just so many places to go emotionally and acting-wise. I mean, it truly is like the role of a lifetime.
That's awesome. I mean, but this is still Kratos, right? This is still Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a new Kratos. This is the Kratos we know, right?
Yeah.
But at a different time in his life, it seems like.
Right.
Yeah, he's older. He's kind of in that first chapter. It's kind of that birth of the anti-hero. But this is Kratos as he's sort of looking through life through a different lens, you know. For me, it reflects, I think, a lot of creative people when they make something. A lot of what they make is part of their own life, what they're seeing reflected back to them in their own life. And for me, I'm kind of at a different phase in my life. And that motivated this, like, well, that's an interesting thing. I look at the world differently now than I did when I started on God of War. Like, my view of the world, how I perceive characters and stories is totally different. And how interesting would that be if Kratos walked along that parallel path?
I love that you mentioned that because I remember I was working in the games press when God of War first came out, and a big part of the charm was how, you know, how Christopher put it, you know, one or two dimensional Kratos was. That was actually very charming at the time. Yep. I mean, it was
rage.
Yeah, it was just rage, and you knew exactly where he stood, and he was very predictable, and he was unpredictable in a predictable way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love this relationship with the son, and we're going to see a little bit more in case you missed any of the footage from last night's press conference. We're kind of recapping that here. It's a little
human challenges of like another person, a tiny human, not listening to the words that you're saying and not understanding what you think is very simple, and that frustration of like, I can't let the anger out. I have to convey this information, you know. And it's also, I think the Kratos challenge is that how much of himself, his real self, is he going to show his kid?
Right. Yep.
You know, and how much of his real self does he see in his kid, and how much does that just crush him?
Yeah.
To see that.
Well, there's two universals that I absolutely love. That I think for things to be successful and relatable, they have to have commonality. They have to have themology that people can relate to. One is what changes more than having a child, more than a child, nothing. And the second, which I mean, how do you father when you've never been fathered?
Right.
You know, and trying to find that.
That's really good.
Know?
That's great.
Did you just come up with that now?
I've actually been thinking about it.
God, yeah? We're going to pay you.
Well, that is the cherry on top.
That is really good. How do you father when you've never been fathered, man? I mean, I just came up with that.
Now, I love this scene in particular. I think this is the one. There was, you know, some great combat, some great action in the scene in this entire demo, but this little sequence right here gives me chills, even watching it again. Let's just take a second and acknowledge it.
Mm.
I mean, that's just awesome. That's just so awesome.
It's I think a lot of this whole experience started at that moment.
Yeah.
That concept of the missed moment, the bad timing, you know, that idea of kids ready to open up, Kratos looking ahead.